Hi, and welcome to Ward 13. My guests today are Andy Sylvia, I'm pronouncing your name right, I hope, of Manchester Inklink, and Mike Lopez, former Alderman-at-Large, and I think everybody knows who you are, Mike, in a better way than they know about me. And we invited Andy to talk about the election. Andy, you've been doing a series of interviews with political candidates. Just what's your overall idea about what about the election and where it's going and what's going on?
Well, so far we've had two mayoral Q&A sessions. I've dubbed them one-person debates.
With Rich Girard and who else?
Victoria Sullivan. We had Victoria in here just yesterday. I was sitting here and Victoria was there. What we've done was we've gotten questions from our readers and then they picked them randomly. We've also had two debates so far with the at-large aldermanic candidates. Joe Kelly-Levasseur couldn't make it, and Dan Gooning couldn't make it, but we had the other six.
Oh, Dan didn't make it.
Yeah, we tried to get him, but he had.
Because he was the second round.
He was in the second round.
Right.
Yeah, we figured it'd be better to split it up
right.
instead of having it be 8 hours long. So
how many people are running this time?
8. So
8, because I know Joe Levasseur, Danny O'Neill, Dan Goonan. There's somebody named Triciani.
June Triciani, she's the chairwoman of the planning board.
Right.
She also writes a column each week saying what's on the planning board schedule and the ZBA schedule for us.
Oh, on Manchester Inklink.
Yep. So.
And has she ever run for office before?
I am not sure, but you can check out all our stuff. We have a voter's guide. She sent in her information there. So most of the candidates running for office are on that, vote.manchesterinklink.com. So you can check out all her background there. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but...
yeah, I think it is her first run.
I think it is, but I don't know for sure.
It's tough running for an office like that for the first time, but where you had... Mike, when you were elected Alderman-at-Large... Had you held a city office before?
Yeah, I spent 18 years as a parks commissioner.
Oh, okay, but you hadn't been elected.
No, I was appointed.
Right, but the thing is, everybody knew who you were because of he's Mr. Veteran of Manchester, and you were a postman too, so you had all your whole route, and you were the head of the union at the postal union.
Well, I was in the union. I wasn't the head.
Oh man, that must have been something because they talk about the old Soviet Revolution of 1917. All the railroad workers, all your postal people were probably vote for Mike.
Good friends.
But it is tough to get elected Alderman-at-Large because only 4 people have been Alderman-at-Large in the last 23 years,
That's
and you
true.
were one of them.
Right.
Yeah, Dan O'Neill's been it forever.
Right.
Then Rich Girard, 1 term. And he ran for mayor against Bob Baines and lost. And that's the year you got elected.
That's the year I got elected.
And you were on for 12 years.
12 years.
That was 2006, 2000.
No, 2000. He lost the election in 2001.
2001.
Right? Yeah.
Because it's back when the Fisher Cats were first coming around that time.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Well, if we were going to do a show, he knows all about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a tough one. The only person I can think of is Jim O'Connell got elected school board at large.
Right.
Yeah.
On the first time, but he had been like you. He'd been involved with schools.
He'd come. When I was covering the school board before he was elected, he'd come to the podium a lot as a parent. So.
Right, and he was part of the PTO organization.
Yeah.
And he knew lots of teachers.
Yeah.
So because people were wondering whether he would win because he didn't have a lot of backing behind him at that time. So, yeah.
He made a name for himself.
Oh, yeah. He was well known. Joe Levasseur and Rich Girard with their programs helped him because they would attack him, and that makes you better. But
and also in the at-large race, there's Mary Georges, the former Ward 3 alderman,
Mary.
And Anthony Harris. He's a advocate for ex-felon rights.
yeah, he was on. I was on the show with him and Norm, the psychic, who comes after my show. Yeah. And there's somebody. Oh yeah, Winter Trebex.
Yeah, Winter Trebex.
Who's the homeless.
Yeah,
Is that the show you left?
Yeah, that was the show last week. Well, we swapped out people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Winter's on the ballot as Mark Dennis. That's her legal name.
Right.
So.
Any idea about this? Is like I said, Danny O'Neill has been Alderman-at-Large since it was created. You know?
Yeah.
And that was, I think, 1999.
Well, he was a
his
Ward
first
4 alderman before.
Right. He was Ward 4 for many
Then he
years.
lost, and then he come back as an alderman-at-large.
Right. But do you guys think Dan Goonan has a chance to, who do you think the final four will be?
Well, I wouldn't want to predict that. I think ultimately there's three pots, I guess, because
Yeah.
I know Elizabeth Monroe is actually campaigning with Joe Kelly Levasseur, so there's kind of like the conservative pot, so to speak. There's like the experience pot, like I know what I'm doing, I'm experienced, and Dan Goonan's in that, and O'Neill's in that, and Moreau's in that, and I guess Levasseur's in that as well to an extent, and
So
and then I guess Trisciani, because she's been on the planning board for a while.
So the favorite candidates would be obviously Joe Levasseur, who gets 9,000 votes no matter what he does.
He's very popular conservative, absolutely.
Right. I wouldn't call him conservative necessarily. Joe Levasseur's Joe Levasseur. Would you agree? Joe's unique.
come a long way over the years.
Right. He runs the gamut of emotions from A to B and all the way backwards. But I would call it Z to Y. But Danny O'Neill's got to be a favorite to be in the final.
He's very well known, absolutely.
But Dan Goonan was the chief, and a very well-known chief. Republican, which he is a registered Republican, but these are non-municipal elections.
That's correct.
I'm going to vote for Dan Goonan, I'll tell you that, because I like what he did with the outreach for the homeless. You might fault him on individual this is my opinion, on individual policies and that. And I know you have to be neutral as a journalist.
I have to be neutral.
I always wrote opinion pieces.
Yeah.
And but I think he's very much dedicated to making the city better and would be positive. But the fourth person, I think, would either be Elizabeth Morrow or Trisciani. Mike, do you have any ideas about?
Well, I think between the fourth person, the Trisciani and Dan Goonan.
Oh, do you think Elizabeth Morrow is going to come in as the third?
Yes.
Because she's a Republican.
Well, she was on the board before, and she's been known.
Oh,
She's also the registrar of probate for
She
Hillsborough
was
County.
the register of probate.
well, I was the campaign manager. One of the campaign managers, the last person to be that.
I think you got Danny O'Neill
yeah.
will be will win the primary, and then you have Joe Kelly Levasseur, and the third one Dan Goonan and Elizabeth Morrow.
I think that would probably be what I would think if I had to put money on it, because Danny's got a lot of people that back him and a lot of organizations. I think that Chief Goonan is still popular with his union, which is the most powerful politically union. I've always been told that since I got here. The firemen go out and work.
Well, you got to remember, the longer you're there, the more enemies you create, the more friends you make.
See, that's the practical politics.
So it's just one of those things. Every vote you take, somebody's not going to like your vote, whether it's yes or no.
I remember when the last chief retired, his retirement speech that I was at, I was rather startled because it was all about their pension. and he ran for alderman against Barbara Shaw, and then he didn't run again. I think that the firemen would think that Danny on the board would protect them over
I don't know. Danny,
their contract and
I
that.
think he.
But he's independent.
I think he
right?
took the. Didn't he take the pledge when increased taxes?
Oh, he took the tax cap pledge?
Yeah, he took the tax cap pledge, from what I understand.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Stay within the tax cap. Danny's pretty smart, But you know what? It all depends how people look at it. Remember, Burkish tried to beat Barbara Shaw.
Right, that was the former Chief Burkish.
And it didn't work,
Because, yeah.
There's a force out there that says a lot of city employees running for alderman is not a good thing.
Right.
So you have that people. So it all depends what Dan Goonan does, how he projects to the people.
And Andy, here's an interesting thing, because if we think about Joe Levasseur and Rich Girard as Republicans, I think of the Republicans of my youth as more moderate, because I lived in states like California, New York, Massachusetts, where there were no Republicans, right? Everything was like a one-party state. But I remember middle of the road Republicans like Warren Rudman. I was always proud that Warren Rudman was my senator. Infinitely respectable person, middle of the road. Well, they were conservative about business and about finance, like taxes stuff. but they weren't like, they weren't uncompassionate or whatever. It seems that like Levasseur, unlike Victoria Sullivan, who has done outreach with homeless, I believe, you know, they use this as a wedge issue. And Dan Goonan has been open about helping the homeless community. And I've actually been at events where the homeless and people have talked about how he's been good to them, that he came and checked on them, made sure that they were warm and everything. Well, that cost him Republican votes.
Well, these are nonpartisan elections, so
right,
it's not Republican or Democratic.
And we can ask him why they are. But,
I know that some of the aldermen, such as Ross Terrio, have advocated phasing out the Safe Stations program. What they want to follow in the steps of Nashua.
Right.
And the issue there is they can't do that yet until CMC goes 24/7 because they don't have a 24/7 post-treatment program like they have in Nashua. So until they do that, I don't think the city is going to close it. If it gets to that point, they might.
Right. I don't believe that that's going to happen right now either. But will him being a compassionate Republican, I don't think even people know that he's a Republican. But so him being a Republican is just a wash, right?
I don't think it would matter as much in a municipal primary as it would when there's an R or a D next to your name on the ballot.
People like Girard, Moreau,
I think you're giving most. Unfortunately, I think you're giving most voters too much credit. I hate to say it. Like a lot of folks, they just go into the polls. They don't know as much as folks like us who are with it all the time. They're just like, oh, I think I know that guy. So I don't know if it'll be.
You're right about that.
You might be overanalyzing it. But who knows? Maybe you're right. I can't speak to that one way or the other. We'll just find out what happens.
Well, what you and Carol at Manchester Inklink, you've done a lot of coverage of the problem with homelessness, the opioid crisis, and that. And then there's that the New what's that called? The New Hampshire. You have the coalition of journalists in New Hampshire. You do a lot of in-depth New Hampshire, a lot of stories.
Yeah, we're partners with them. Yeah.
So what do you think about what is Manchester's take on the homeless situation? What do you hear from people? Are people mad about things going on? Are they compassionate? Do they want to help?
I think it's a mix depending on who you talk to and where you are in the city.
Where you are,
yeah,
where you're located.
I think a lot of folks in Ward 1, when you're the camp under the Amoskeag Bridge, were a little worried.
Yes.
And Ward 3. And the further you get out, it changes. It depends on where you are. I think you can't say that the city thinks one clear way. It's very divided depending on what people believe and where you are in the city.
Okay. What about you, Mike?
Well, it's a major problem. There's no question about it. But I'm a firm believer when you make compassionate decisions, they're usually wrong. You know. You gotta make
You're usually wrong?
Well, when you make compassionate decisions, they're usually wrong decisions to make.
Because they're based on emotions?
Emotions. You need to have a strong decision-making process as to what that be, whether it be a sit-down work study with the leadership and come out with something. Because, you know, you go back the way the homeless people, and there was certain camps, everybody knew there was camps at certain locations. They weren't bothering nobody, and it had a place to stay, you know. And then somebody along the line brings up they're going to solve the homeless problem. Well, the homeless problem has been around since I've been born.
In 1999, you know, I was doing research on it. You know, you had the former chief of police, who's Joyce Craig's father-in-law, who was the head of the shelter. They were all talking about the homeless problem then. And at the time, Hirschman and Levasseur were on the board, and they recommended using the state armory to house them. But it was considered a crisis. That was when Wazorek was mayor.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, you want to do everything in power to help the people who want help. But, you know,
Within
when you don't have a
reason.
mental institution in the state of New Hampshire,
Yeah.
you know, and they're all out in the street, you know, people got to live someplace. And then, you know, affordable housing, people can't afford affordable housing. There's a lot of people out there living homeless that need help, and they're not getting it to a degree, but they're maybe working at cook someplace or whatever the case may be. Look at the lady that was in the paper the other day. She bought a 3 tenement put her employees up, took care of them. That's the type of stuff that you need to do. You know?
I think it's a more complex issue than people give it credit for, because for a lot of folks it is a mental health issue. For other folks, it's just they're down on their luck and they just need some help.
Right.
It's not one. I've heard Shauna Green, the new director of Homeless Initiative, say it's different for every single person. I'm interested to see what happens with Alderman Long's proposal, the tiny houses. We had a story on that recently. That might be a big breakthrough. I know they have the city that has some land behind the airport diner area there.
Yes, they do.
I think that's where they're planning on putting it. I don't know for sure, but I think that's where they're looking to put those tiny houses. That might be a big help.
Yeah, they've been very successful in other countries and Canada and places, and they're just they're very tiny.
Yeah.
They're not very big. They're like almost some of them look like igloos. You know, there's different ones, not the ones packed.
300 square feet, 200 square feet.
But it's enough to have 4 walls around you and your own space.
Yeah, and that's that. In your own space, that's another issue. I know I've heard folks, homeless folks, are either afraid or unwilling to go into Fit New Horizons because they feel disrespected there. They feel threatened there by other people there. Their stuff is confiscated.
Right.
For a while, they're afraid of getting COVID. So it's just maybe if they get their own spaces, that might help.
And a community like that, you could police it. You could have you could help the people because it would be there. That's one of the things like in Europe that they've done. That you're in a locality and then you can serve them and make sure that the crime and everything. Because one thing that Joyce Craig pointed out was a lot of homeless are kids that have run away.
Sure.
And they have their own camps too, where they have to be protected from predators and that.
There is a new facility for homeless youth coming
Sure.
as well right next to Bronstein Park.
Right.
We've had a few stories on that.
See, one thing I was hearing from people, others surprised me. I asked one person I knew, would you like to, you don't know the person, but hey, about getting an interview with Joyce Craig as well. I don't like what she's doing about the homeless. And I'm thinking, well, but it's part of that. From what I see, she's trying to do a lot, but there are things you have to do. I remember Bill Berry when he was alderman in his first term, down near Bass Park on the west side, there were drug addicts, homeless. There were where the dog park is too.
Oh, yeah.
Where the dog park.
Yeah,
there were needles in there, and there are kids playing there, and that's one of the things Bill, when he's first alderman. Now Bill is a person that with Pat Long is focused on helping the homeless. They with Glenn R.J. Ouellette, they all went down to Cambridge, I think, last year. But what do you do?
Although Alderman Berry has also said in the past that Manchester needs to focus on Manchester's homeless. That's been another issue, especially with folks on the right wing of the spectrum saying that the rest of New Hampshire is sending their homeless here because they don't want to.
But that's not just right wing, because that's actually happening. I found that out.
Well, let's go back to
Would you go
the tiny houses, for an example.
Yeah.
Let's say you build 40 of those. Don't you think other people are going to come into Manchester and wait in line to try to get in there, and you're going to have double the number of homeless people around?
Well, that's the thing. When people are talking about all of a sudden homelessness was created when Joyce Craig got sworn in. Ted Gatzis tried to help homeless people, but you know how Ted is. Not everybody has my opinion of it.
I think they've said, the mayor and the alderman said they would only aim to help Manchester residents, and they'd look for driver's licenses. Or I think in the case of
there was talk
of the kids there, they look at like academic record to see if they were enrolled in Manchester schools.
Right.
Right.
So,
but when he started, it wasn't his idea, Safe Stations. It was Hickey. Lieutenant Hickey, who's now a captain.
Right.
He came up with the idea, and then I think Chief Burkish supported it, and so did Ted.
Right.
But Ted was saying, I just heard a woman from California put her kid on a plane and sent her here, which I looked into. That wasn't true. But he was very proud that this was going. But that points out the fact that when you build it, they will come. And that's a different issue, though, and because I actually believe there is a need for statewide policy, and I think Victoria Sullivan talks about that, I think, too. And Joyce has been talking about that. You just can't do it alone when you're Manchester.
Yeah. The difference I've seen from Sullivan and Girard versus Craig in terms of that is with Craig, they talk about the lack of a statewide policy, and with Sullivan and Girard, they talk about the funding.
Right.
Sununu, whenever Governor Sununu responds to that, he says, "Well, I've given Manchester all this money, and we've given them more money than ever." And then Mayor Craig and the other mayors in New Hampshire say, "Well, you haven't given us
Directly,
not even directly, just an overarching strategy."
Right, because he dismantled the hub and spoke system, which is supposed to actually help Manchester.
So it depends on how you look at it, I guess.
But, there's the thing. If you are compassionate and build it, and that's just Ted Gatzis, and one of the words, the compassion doesn't come with him for me, but he did try to help.
Well, he tried to help.
And then he's talking about people are coming, and they come. But see, it was Lavasser that said about 2013 and 14, he was on a show. That's when I used to go on a show every now and then. That people from all over New England, not just the state, are coming. And I remember trying to do a little stuff with homeless vets. And indeed, a lot of them, but they are from Portland, Maine and stuff. They hear about Manchester and they come down here. And
well, we work on the homeless vets quite a bit. In the Manchester Housing has a lot of housing for veterans.
That's right. You're the head of. You just got reappointed, the head of the.
So there's
Veterans housing.
A lot of housing around, and neighborhood work, Manchester Housing. I just did a tour this morning of all the accomplishments that Neighborhood Works did, which is tremendous. Okay, so there is, but it's like everything else. Safe station is a good idea. Okay. But what happens, everybody comes in.
Right.
If you say, okay, we're going to have safe station for Manchester resident, I don't think by law you can do that.
No, they need to help everybody who asks for
They
help.
have to help everybody, okay? So the word spreads like wildfire, It goes,
there is help here.
Just like people that are on welfare. I used to deliver mail up at Kelly Falls. They know the rules, and they educate the other people to know the rules. So if you got something, people are going to go after it.
The biggest city of any state. I've lived in New York City twice. New York was always given some advantages, just like Detroit was in Michigan, because everybody goes to New York. All the drug addicts, eventually, not all of them, but they get there because you do have welfare, you have all the social services. Ted Gatzis and his brother have a building that they have the methadone clinic. That's not a hit on Ted Gatzis. He is a landlord, and you have to have a methadone clinic. But if you have a methadone clinic, people that need help are going to come.
No, I think what Mayor Craig and the other mayors have said is they want it to be a statewide issue, not just
absolutely,
not just Manchester.
It has to be.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's always a problem. It's always the state always pushing the bucks down here.
That's right. What do they call that? Down something. I used to know that when I was running for office about down. What was it, London? Downshifting. You downshift the costs.
It's like education. The state should provide more money for education. The homeowner can do it. We're in for trouble in the next 5 years.
Right. We've never been able, Claremont 1 and 2. I was reading about that when I was living in California, and it still hasn't been worked out. But that's another show. Yeah. Let's transition to the mayor races. You did interviews with Girard and Victoria Sullivan. How do they feel about their chances? Because
I think they both feel pretty positive so far. I mean, obviously, what if you're running for mayor? There are two different approaches for sure, and you can watch both of our Q&As with them on Manchester Inklink, like I said. Sullivan's more personable. She was, as you know, she was a state rep for a couple terms. And
she's very friendly.
Yeah, she's very friendly. Girard has been around for a long time. He was
Ray Wizork's chief of staff.
Chief of staff. Yeah, he was an Alderman-at-Large. He was on the board school committee at large. He's more, I think, intellectual, I guess would be the right word.
Rich knows how government works.
Yeah, he's very policy driven.
Went to Boston College and studied political science.
It was interesting seeing the differences in terms of how they answered questions. Rich would go on for, I think he went on for like 10 minutes on some of the questions. He just would keep on going. He's very knowledgeable.
Oh yeah, you could learn. When I was first covering politics, when I would filter out the stuff he gets into, that can be very negative. You could actually learn stuff from listening to him about how Manchester, the city government, works. You were another person I learned from about budgeting and that. But Rich knows how a budget is put together. Sure. Yeah. He was the Wiz's chief of staff.
Right.
And how would you characterize Victoria Sullivan's approach?
It's more, like I said, it's more personable, more down. I wouldn't say down to earth, but just very. She connects with people. I think is the best way to put that. Mayor Craig's kind of a synthesis of the two things, I think, as well.
Oh yeah, she learned under you how to make a budget, right, Mike? Well, she was. You were the.
She had the experience before she was mayor, so she knows what she's doing.
She's pretty smart.
She was on the school board and then the alderman.
And she knows her stuff. She's very quick whenever you have a question for her.
Mm-hmm.
Is she going to be doing an interview with you guys?
I hope so. We've been trying to schedule something. If not, then hopefully we can reset after the primary and see who the two finalists are.
Right.
If finalist is the right word, I guess. I don't nominee or
two nominees.
You
were on the charter commission that created this. What do you call it? The finalists. You know?
Finalist.
Well, you look like I said before. I said, it was actually Dr. Goldhart. I think I mentioned to you one time before. The process of Alderman-at-Large is not fair to the ward alderman.
It isn't, really.
Because all he has to do is get 33% of the vote, and he wins.
Yeah.
Where an alderman got to get 50.
Yeah.
So
first past the post.
And I know in the Board of School Committee with the Manchester Proud recommendations, that was one of the things they recommended, getting rid of the at-large alderman.
I think Mike and I think we're of the opinion you have
more. Excuse me, not the at-large alderman, the at-large school committee members.
I think that if you do have at-large, there should be from district. There should be like 4: West Side, North End, Center City, South End. That way, somebody can actually
kind of like the floterial districts with the State House, basically.
Right? Because then a Triciani can actually to run for Alderman-at-Large. You need a lot of money, and when you don't have a name,
a lot of money.
Because
she's good at fundraising. Yeah.
Well, she's good at tapping into networks to have the funds.
That's what fundraising is.
Because Katie DeRoches came very close to unseating Dan O'Neill.
But it's not easy to run.
Right, and
citywide.
Katie was Ward 11. Was on the school board, and she was known because she was kind of if we have a left or right in Manchester. Because remember, I've lived in Cambridge, I've been in Berkeley and everything. Where I think I'm a liberal. I go up to San Francisco and Berkeley, and I'm a fascist to them, But Katie was pretty well known. I'm surprised she didn't run this time, but it's all a choice. But I think it's because she's knew that Triciani's going to have a hard time making the final 2. Maybe not the 4, but final 2. It's hard when you're not known. Another thing, Morrow has a French name. Never underestimate that.
She's what? Ward.
She lives in Ward 1 now. She lived in Ward 6.
Ward 2.
She was in Ward 6, but she had to move because her family was gone.
You get a lot of votes in Ward 1 and 2.
She's not going to get Elizabeth Warren's not going to get the votes from Ward 1 though, because she's just reason. Because remember, we used to have a Mayor Morrow. And there's certain things that give you that help you on the west side. They bring the vote in, huh? It's true. Why do you think they get John Claude Hopwood for that French vote? But Morrow is a name that's well known in the city, and I noticed that like in Ward 12, the school board, she was part of the family, a family on the west side that was very big. Cashin used to tell me families here. Bill Cashin, the former chairman of the board, he said that when you're part of a family here in Manchester, it's like a clan. There's a certain clannishness that can help you in a race. Yeah.
Oh, sure. And
certain names, like being Kennedy, I guess, in Massachusetts 40 years ago or something like that. But what is the big difference, do you think, between Victoria Sullivan and Rich Girard when it would come to as mayor? Did they tell you, what am I going to do? I know Rich probably did. What I'm going to do day 1 as mayor?
Well, I guess you have to go back to our
Manchester Ink Link.
I'm going to plug that as much as I can.
Well, we'll put a script it.
we'll put a little. I think going back to what I said before, Rich as a mayor would probably be very policy oriented,
technocrat,
very very technical. Yeah, and I think Sullivan would be kind of more by the numbers conservative, I guess. That's the best way to put it. There'd be some overlap for sure, but they're different approaches.
Right, one's a technocrat. One thinks of herself as like a leader of the city, right?
I suppose that's.
I think Rich would think too, but there's different ways of being a politician. There's somebody like a Bill Clinton. Remember, originally was a wonk, but of course he had charisma to be a leader too. Where somebody like Ronald Reagan was very much, you're too young. I was very much against Ronald Reagan. I was such a Democrat after Watergate. At West High School, 76, he comes to talk to us. I just say, oh, here's a guy. He used to be on Death Valley days on TV. And then you shake his hand. And the guy had such charisma. It was amazing. And I turned to Gary Hamer, who's running for school board, and said, when are we going to get somebody like this? Being a Democrat. So we did with Bill Clinton. There's somebody that, when I talk to Victoria, I just like her, She's a likable person. You'll feel, and we won't talk about Girard and me because we have a history. But I'm not the only one that Rich is, he's colder than a Victoria Sullivan.
And I think Mayor Craig is very personable as well, so.
Right, although some people have said, they complained about her as mayor, but that she was a little off-putting to them at first during her first term. But, it's like, she's the mayor, she's very got to be mayor. She's never been mayor before.
I can't speak to that. But,
yeah. When you're, an alderman, I don't think an Alderman-at-Large, does that come close to being a mayor?
It comes close.
I've heard it be like vice mayor.
Right, but when you become, like I'm sure Danny O'Neill and probably you, when you were he was the chairman of the board.
I think
when you have all the people coming to you for stuff.
Well, you have all the people coming to you because of their perception that you have a lot of power, and that's the bad part in the community. The alderman only has so much power. They don't have ultimate power.
You only have one vote, just like everybody else.
One vote, like everybody else. But
and a mayor needs 8 on the board.
Like in my case, I was chairman of the board, so I used to put in 30, 40 hours a week in order to keep up with everything that's going on, in order to.
And a mayor probably is much more
full-time job. It's a job.
And so it's tough all the way around. So, but interesting to go back to the school board where we wanted to change it down to down to 5 people on the school board or something.
I don't know about. They recommended just having one for each ward.
One for each ward.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, you should take a good look at that because I think
you were the chairman.
I think what they mentioned, what I remember hearing them, what the analysts that came in for the Manchester Proud thing, what they said is like they'd analyzed school districts all over the country. They said Chicago has 12 people on it, and yet we have 12. So they thought like we were kind of oversaturated in terms of the amount of people that we have on our school board.
That comes
from
my
lifetime so far. I've seen though is that the people that really hurt the city is the ward alderman.
Really?
They stop everything from progressing in their particular ward or don't make a decision for the city. That's why I was very adamant when I was on a charter commission to try to get 6 aldermen-at-large.
Right, there should be more.
And that way you get a better perception of the entire piece of pie, so to speak, and can make better decision. A ward alderman gets elected by 12, 14
It's very
votes.
parochial.
Yeah, and all you got to do is to please 1,000 families in your ward, and you're there for life.
That's right. I remember that calculus you said when I first met you. He said you just have to. It's 1,000 people.
It almost seems like it should be bicameral in that case, and just have the ward alderman and then have 12 at-large aldermen and just have 2 boards of aldermen.
When I was,
Manchester.
Not that I endorse either way. I don't care either way.
No. I'm just saying
unconstitutional.
You have to have a discussion on it for the simple reason that you look at the city of Manchester is a major city, okay, and sometimes you take a ward alderman stops things from moving forward. I'm not going to mention any names, but you look at the process there, and you
like a senator
as a chairman, I got to get 8 votes, and if you're not giving something to that ward alderman, you're not going to get his vote.
Yeah, and nowadays it's not even as much as that versus the pro-mayor and anti-mayor blocks. Now it's with a lot of them they're not going to vote against the mayor or for the mayor on almost anything. So
right,
but I don't know if the whole if it's about their ward all the time as much as the whole block system. From what I've seen, I think it is to an extent. Definitely when folks come to an alderman and say we want this, they listen for sure. But
but in most cases, Hank Tebow was a man of his word. He was a ward alderman from a Ward 11, and as an alderman-at-large, I used to take his and always called when he went to Florida for 3 months and and then came back in the springtime. But he was a great guy. Okay, so you look at what's happening, and I can tell you the only people that want help from the ward alderman, they didn't pick up my garbage, they didn't pave my roads, they didn't do my
Pothole.
The local
the
stuff.
local
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
you know. And
That's what the voter thinks about them. Like Keith
Yeah.
Hirschman, whatever you think about his politics or opposing Joyce Craig, when you talk to the people in 12, they call him, he gets the stuff done.
Right.
One thing I'm curious what you guys' opinion are about the recent Ward 1 vacancy, not Ward 1, excuse me, Ward 12 vacancy on the Board of School Committee. Did you guys hear about this with after Leslie Thomas?
Well, I've heard all sorts of inside stuff. that I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, well, basically, so Joe Kelly Lavasser wanted to wait when there was a vacancy on Ward 1 after Kavanaugh made a nomination.
Oh, you talking?
Because he said
Oh,
that because the tradition is whenever a ward alderman makes a nomination, usually the aldermen support that.
Well, there's
but
yeah.
Joe Kelly Vassar said as an at-large alderman, he's a ward alderman for all the wards.
And he pulled that stunt several years ago.
So then Kavanaugh asked to wait for Ward 12 because there was another candidate who was
right,
who's
Carlos.
opposing the one, who's
Carlos
opposing,
Gonzalez.
well, who's opposing Carlos. Carlos is the one that Hirschman wanted, so he had to wait there.
It's only.
So do you think that an at-large alderman is a ward alderman for all the wards, or is that kind of?
Let me just give some background. Joe Lavasser tried to make a nominee for, when traditionally it's the ward that.
Well, he didn't. No, he didn't want to make a nominee. He just said
So this was before years ago.
Okay,
and
years ago.
one of them brought up one of the aldermen that, oh yeah, you tried this, years ago. When you know the backstory about it, because it is the right of any alderman to nominate whoever they want, but tradition, like Bill Berry said, well, and I'm sure Bill would probably have supported their candidate, but traditionally it's a alderman's right to name the candidate, just like in the U.S. Senate. And as you and Mike are talking about, they're like U.S. senators. They can stop anything. You can't, you don't appoint a federal judge unless the senator says so. And if you do, if a president breaches that, it's oh boy.
Well, I think over a number of years, and the late Bill Cashin would probably he fought for the alderman also being appointed to a school board, for an example. That's always been, even when I was there for 12 years, somebody, the ward alderman. Yeah, is Joe right? Joe's right. Technically, they're all right. Anybody can appoint anybody because that's what the charter says, But the alderman has always taken the position that if the school board was from your ward, you yield to that alderman.
You know best.
You
know best.
You could put up a fight. Most likely you're not going to win.
No, because they're going to protect their prerogative.
Yeah, it's interesting to see if that tradition will continue. It's continued for now since Carlos got in.
And everybody knows Carlos.
Yeah, but
I think Carlos is very well liked.
Yeah, everybody knows him.
Everybody knows him.
Yeah, and plus it's only a few months, so.
Right.
Well,
and
he's running against Ken Roy as well, so.
Right.
Oh, so yeah.
So the guy who was the other nominee.
Carlos is.
So that's gonna prove right there. I mean, So, but anyways, you never know what's going to happen.
That's why.
Until the election's over.
That's why we're here. That's why. That's why I report on it.
So let's. We've only got like 15 minutes left. Well, we'll wrap up all, and I'd like to have you back next week, both of you, and we can talk about the results.
I don't know if I'll have time, but I'll do my best.
Okay, we can have you call in or something. But
I want to say again before I forget. I want to say you guys did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
That, because the only organization that's really getting messages out. I mean, to the public. And that's the biggest problem that anybody running for office is to get the message out, because there's a lot of people running. I mean, God bless them, whoever they are running. It's a thankless job in the first place. Okay?
Yeah.
But you want to do it. I wanted to do it for the city, and people go in there. Just make the decisions that you feel comfortable for the entire city, because rest of my life depends on your decision to make the city.
It's definitely important, for sure.
Definitely important. I can remember when I
property taxes
made the decision to build the Civic Center here in Manchester.
People are still talking about the.
People tore me apart for a year, 2
Jeff
years.
Cassell's still talking about it.
But you know, it's you guys at least doing a great job.
Well, thank you. We want to be a resource for all voters of Manchester and all candidates too, regardless of their political persuasion.
Folks, that means manchesterinklink.com. Manchesterinklink.com. They got a voter's guide that is incredibly thorough.
Yeah, vote.manchesterinklink.com.
Right, and in Ward 8, 4 years ago, Ed Sapienza hung himself during the primary because he answered one of the questions in the Manchester Inklink Voters Guide when it said, what would you do for the opiate crisis? And he says, oh, let the people, don't give them Narcan, don't revive them. Remember that?
Yeah,
people were
I
like,
remember.
oh, and you know, they're people said, what's going on with Ed? He's been around Joe Lavasser too long. Because with Joe says this stuff because Joe's going to say this stuff to get a reaction. I don't know if Joe even believes stuff that he does.
Joe says a lot of things.
Yeah, that he does. Because you'll meet him afterwards, he'll be laughing or whatever. Yeah, back when I knew him,
the impression I've gotten of Alderman Lavasser is I think he dislikes bullies so much to the point that he becomes a bully to the bullies, and then people outside of him just see him as a bully.
Yeah, he used to go after Ted Gatz's.
He just wants justice, but it's kind of. I remember somebody said once, I don't remember who it was, but good antagonists are the heroes of their own story. Whenever I think of Alderman Lavasser, I think of that. Whenever people think he's like a villain or some nasty guy, he's in his eyes, he's a hero for the people that he's advocating for, and the things that he's going for, he's a hero. So it depends on his perspective.
Bill Cash used to say he's the best actor in Manchester. Yep. Because he is, a lot of it's acting, But here's my, very briefly, and you don't have to answer because neutrality. Mayor, Joyce comes in first, and I don't know who's going to be the next two because I recently think that Rich might catch Victoria at the wire because we were talking earlier, but we're not going to talk about it now because we don't have time. Stuff I've been talking about to people, but of course the people that are going to talk to me.
I was going to say, listen,
more of my
you were talking.
Well, no, you have to really over-talk me. But Mike, who do you think's going to be in the final two?
Well, the final two, definitely Joyce Craig.
Yeah. Do you think Rich can come in second?
I've been thinking about that even on the way over here, and saying, you look at Rich Girard. Rich Girard is a smart cookie.
He has people
he has a planner. He plans every move that he makes, and it takes a lot of work to plan, believe me.
Like Andy said, though, like about Joe, he has people, not as many as Joe Lavasser has. Joe can bring out 9,000 votes. Rich can probably bring out 6,500. He did and more when he was running for.
Yeah. He's been around for a while, so he has. To me,
shot Kathy
he has the edge.
He beat Kathy Staub. Nobody thought that was going to happen.
I would be surprised that if Victoria beats him.
You will be surprised. I guess I would too, but I think that he might be sneaking up on her a little. What do you have any idea about that?
I wouldn't want to say one way or the other. I think
could be neck and neck.
I think a lot of it depends on the sentiment on the right wing. Is it about beating Mayor Craig at all costs, or is it about philosophies? If it's about philosophies, and I think all bets are off. If I think it's about beating Mayor Craig, it'll be more about who has the resources. And from what I've seen, Victoria has raised more money. I haven't checked the filings, but I think she has more money right now than Girard.
Right, because neither one seems to have much advertising. Because I have a friend who's got a Republican husband, and they usually get.
I think Sullivan has more yard signs, but not by a lot.
Yeah, but he was surprised.
He said he got a lot of endorsements too. We just got another one today. We're putting up a story on that.
Which one?
I forgot.
Somebody outside the city.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's one thing a lot of folks have said. Why,
Rich.
Do these endorsements from outside the city mean anything?
Yeah, so, I can't.
Endorsements sometimes, it's.
Yeah, it might even backfire.
It can hurt you.
Yeah, it might even backfire.
When Joyce Craig gets the head of concerned taxpayers of Manchester, and who'd been the head of the Republican, committee,
that's a big deal.
And she gets it for that was a big deal. It's inside the city. I don't really know who the head of the Hooksett town council is, and neither do I care.
Well, he works at the Puritan, so
he works where?
He works at the Puritan.
Oh, wow.
He's a Central grad. So,
The guy who looks it.
yeah.
Oh, you're part of the Central Mafia?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. You're from,
But I know
you're
him.
from the other.
I mean, I've covered
another
Hooks
city.
It too, so I know him.
You know, I'm from West High in the 70s. Central beat us all the time. So that's the other evil empire along with the New York Yankees. But what about more interesting ward races?
Okay.
There's an interesting
Yeah, that's
race
why I
in
brought
A.
all my cheat sheet here. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So I think Ward 4, I think, is going to be very interesting.
Okay.
On the aldermanic side, we got incumbent Jim Roy. He's been around for a long time. State Rep Nicole LeCline Knight.
Yes.
She's a big
lefty
fan of the progressive movement.
Progressive.
Christine Fajardo. She's been campaigning with Leslie Want, the chair of the vice chair of the BOSC.
You mean there's 3 candidates?
There's 4.
Oh, yeah, that's
the
right.
4th one is Frank Negus Staples, the guy known as Footloose.
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, well, if you don't know him, watch the Board of School Committee meeting from Tuesday. He was there with an anti-mask group.
Oh, okay, I get it
Yeah,
now.
he
But
was
that's interesting. You
yelling
have
at
two
folks. Yeah, I got-
people that are like Democrats running.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how it splits down there. There's 4 candidates in Ward 2.
Let's just ask.
BOSC. Yeah.
Can Jim Murray get beat?
Jim-
I don't think so.
Yeah, Pat Long got beat one year, but that was by, Baines, Tim Baines, who was very personal. He beat him by 3 votes. That's the thing. Turn out and vote, folks, because I've seen people like Joel won the state rep by 5 votes. I remember Joyce Craig was counting votes, too, and Tammy Simmons was next to her. And all Tammy Simmons was doing was just talking. And finally Joyce said, Tammy, please be quiet. Because, we're looking at the ballots. But, okay.
No, yeah. So, Ward 2 has 4 candidates for Board of School Committee.
Board of School Committee.
Kathleen Kelly-Arnold, the incumbent. Sean Parr, who ran last time.
Sean Parr,
he's
right.
a professor at St. A's.
He lost to her.
He
that's
lost,
right.
yeah. Robin Rice, nobody knows who that is. And then Jim Lupian, we had a story on him. He's kind of a right-wing guy.
Except Manchester Ink Link, we can find out the
Yep,
details.
Yep, all the details there. Ward, what else we got here? Ward 9, I think, will be interesting for the aldermanic races. Kind of a dichotomy there. Barbara Shaw's been around for a long time, very established, and then Bobby Kliski, who's
Kid, he's a young guy.
he just graduated from college, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's very smart too.
Free Stater?
I don't think he is, but he's done one thing that was interesting. He ran for state rep last year, and during prime campaign time, instead of going door to door, he did litter cleanups, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, he's probably a Free Stater, then that's one of their big things.
I can't speak to
This
that.
is on the QT.
I can't speak to that.
Well, that was the whole story underneath the French-Canadian stuff when Ward. You remember Tam?
I know the guy running against Gamache in Ward 11 is a Free Stater.
Free Stater,
Andre
right?
Rosa.
And they do their cleanups over there. That was the whole story underneath.
Gamache was-
Tammy Simmons
Yeah,
and Victoria Sullivan. We talked about this my last show. Aren't against French Canadians. It's just the French Canadians are there and are in the way to a Free State takeover because that group, the spokesperson from the group, that West Side group, We Heart West. When they had the French Canadian brouhaha, that's Carla Garrick's husband. Carla Garrick, who ran against Lou D'Alessandro.
Oh, yeah.
Our friend Lou D'Alessandro. She wants to secede, New Hampshire secede from the United States, which
I saw recently
you get a new
that
passport, right?
that Mark Sylvia, a state rep from up in the Lakes region, actually is planning to file legislation for New Hampshire to secede from the United States.
Well,
I don't know how that would
that's
work,
great.
but no, I'm not related to him, so.
Do we get nuclear weapons? Mel Thompson wanted nukes, remember? Back in the old days. Any other races?
What else we got here?
Ward 8.
Ward 8. We have a debate tonight at 6 p.m. on the Manchester Ink Link Facebook page. It's again, that's another dichotomy. Sean Chargent, who's also on the planning board, kind of the, I guess, de facto left-wing candidate.
Well, I wouldn't call him left-wing. Democrat.
Right.
Although he doesn't like being said that he's a Democrat.
I saw a
And
month or
part
two
of it.
ago. He had an Act Blue donation page, and some folks were giving them
Oh, you're
the
on that
business
there
about
too?
that. I see
Right.
that. Yeah, I have to. I mean, I got to see what's going on in the city.
Yeah, I got thrown out of Jimmy Lou's side after I talked about Heath Hirschman.
And then there's Tommy K. A lot of folks know Tommy Katsiantonis. The big question there will be whether or not people will be willing to forgive him for what happened.
Yeah, he got convicted of tax evasion.
Yeah, I know
for his restaurant.
He's apologized for that. He hopes he can move forward.
This is one thing I actually talked to Tommy the other day, and I said, Tommy, people probably think that you're still alderman. He says, yeah, I still get calls.
Right.
You know?
Oh, he's a good alderman.
Yeah.
He was a good alderman.
You know, he was a Democrat, but he was, you know,
Yeah.
he was his own person, you know.
Yeah. And then,
he would.
Yeah, and then there's always Appienza. He's very genuine. I think that's the best way to.
Yeah, but I like Ed. I used to be on Joe Lavasse's show with him, but Ed, you know, I think he's gone a little too Joe. Whereas, as we know, Joe is kind of acting, and and a lot of the people that follow Joe really believe the stuff. It's like I always think Trump, you know, at first didn't believe what he was saying, but then you know you get into your role.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about being an actor. Huh? The role takes you over.
Oh, well.
Any other interesting races?
Oh, I think they're all interesting, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with those ones. I think those are the big ones. I think in Ward 1, Kavanaugh's going to have an easy time. Ward 2
just gets bigger and bigger.
Will
for
Stewart's
him.
going to have an easy time, probably for the
Yeah.
most part. Ward 3, Pat Long's probably going to have an easy time. I talked
he
to
is.
Greg Krill, the guy running against Pat Long in Ward 3. He's just looking for some experience. I haven't been able to reach him.
Oh, he's a young guy?
Yeah, young guy.
Yeah, the only person that could challenge him is Tim Baines, and Tim's working on his restaurant.
Yeah, Tim has 4 restaurants now. So
Oh yeah,
time
he's
for it.
pretty busy.
Too busy.
Yeah.
Because Tim was actually thinking about running for mayor. We all know, but
but he's
you
business.
you know you can't run restaurants and build. You know, you wait 10 or 20 years.
Well, if you can't give time, you know,
You can't. That restaurant takes up
you're
all
doing
your time.
injustice, really.
Right.
Yeah. Ward 5, I think probably Tony Sapienza is probably a favorite.
Oh, Tony will win easily.
Yeah. I've been very impressed with Sebastian Chernoff in Ward 6. He's very savvy when it comes to
Smart kid.
to media stuff. The Dan Wisniewski, he's a nice guy too, but it's interesting seeing again the difference. I haven't gotten any press releases from any of the aldermen except for Chernoff. It's
Yeah,
interesting
he's
that
really working.
Yeah, even after the election, he knows his stuff. He's kind of. I think someday he might become the torchbearer of the right wing in the city,
Or the Republicans.
or the Republicans if he wants to go
I don't
to
want
the
to
state
think
level.
of terms of.
Well, that's his military training.
Oh, he was in the military?
He was in the military.
Oh, okay.
Sebastian was in the military. Yeah, so he's very soft spoken, but he sticks to his guns.
Yeah, when he was arguing
Very
about
very polite too.
Right.
So
when they wanted to amend the city charter, he knew about it.
Yeah.
And he knew his rights.
Oh, he did
and
his homework.
everything.
oh yeah, he does his homework.
Oh yeah.
So and
Bright kid.
Yeah, he's very good with constituent services too, from what I've seen. Ward 7, Ross Terrio and Mary Heath. That'll be interesting.
That in November we'll have you back. That's a battle because I like Ross a lot, but
Yeah.
Mary Heath, that is the Democratic, New Hampshire Democratic Party.
She's very. Yeah, she's
The
very.
Sullivan. She's putting Sullivan in her name too. She's Mary Sullivan Heath, Kathy Sullivan's sister,
Yeah.
who lambasted me the other day. But that means
yeah.
I'm doing something right.
Okay. Ward 10, I think Bill Berry's probably going to make. I don't know if Lisa Massey exists. I've never.
She's
seen...
I know she lives across from the Hamers, and she, I guess Tammy Simmons didn't want to run this time. She always had a Tammy Simmons sign off. I never have heard of her except, oh, that's you're the worst person across the street.
And then,
Yeah.
And then Ward 12, probably a 3-way.
Oh.
Aaron Kelly's kind of the left wing
Yeah.
candidate, and then Jamie Brazil and Dick Marston are kind of right wing.
Well, Dick Marston's
Dick
about
Marston.
8,000 years old. Yeah. That's what Joel says.
His name, and people like him. In
He's been around
People
forever.
know him, Yeah.
Yeah, and he got reelected after Joel took his seat from him,
Right.
and then he took it back because Joel moved to Concord,
Right.
Joel Elber.
Yeah.
And then 12.
Yeah, that is 12.
Oh, yeah, we just
That is
did
12.
12.
Yeah, and then we
Remember,
talked
it's
about
not
11.
how old you are; it's what you've accomplished over the years.
Yeah.
Well, I
people
remember Dick
remember.
saying something very nasty to Joel, but that's on the T&T, right? He says, I'm going to beat you next time.
And another thing, I think in Ward 6 in the Board of School Committee race, I'm curious if Dan Bergeron will do a write-in campaign. I
haven't
doubt
heard
it.
a word.
But
What
yeah.
happened there?
He shows up after 5 o'clock.
That was
on a
ridiculous.
Friday.
He got there at 5:02 on the last Friday of the. He had 2 weeks to
I
to
know,
sign
'cause
up.
we would see
He's
each
running.
other
He's
down there.
literally running. He got into the door before they locked it. All the assistant city clerks are going home. He's like, "Can I sign up still?" I'm like, "No, we're going home." Like, you had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He did. We were down there looking at
It's
candidates.
pretty
I
hard.
was there.
There's only one guy that's been able to do a write-in, as I know of, and that was Art Beaudry.
Well, Art
Art
doesn't
was
even
around
live here
forever.
anymore.
Art was around forever. Yeah. So.
Write-ins.
Okay,
Very difficult.
Ward 10, vote for Gary Hamer for school board. I've known him since kindergarten. Me and Heidi and him were in along with Chris Messier, who's the head of the polling there. Any last thoughts? We got about 3 minutes.
I think that's it. Please check out our website, manchesterinklink.com, and vote.manchesterinklink.com.
Put the camera right on Andy and say
Hopefully-
it right to them.
Hopefully, I've been as neutral as I possibly can here. Like I said, we want to help out all candidates, spread the word about what's going on. But if they say something, we're going to say what they. We're going to report on what they say, positive or negative.
What's your election night coverage going to be? Are you going to
Still
just...
TBA. Last time we just flipped a coin and I went wherever.
Are
I
you-
went wherever. I'm a loyal soldier to Carol. I go where she tells me to go.
Are they going to do a radio again?
I don't know. I know I was at the morning show radio during the primary back in the day, but
You don't know if they're going to do something?
I don't know. It's still too early. I'll do whatever. they
Ink
ask
doesn't
me.
have a TV show.
No.
Oh,
I'm
you do-
on the morning show every morning. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you took over from Carol.
yeah. Well, Carol just still does Wednesdays usually. But, But yeah, she was out of town today, so.
Well, you can always have a home here. I'm
thank
sure
you.
people would rather listen to you than my bleeding.
I'm happy to spread information any way I can.
I didn't talk over you too badly. did
I can be loud if I need to.
The results come in pretty early.
Oh yeah.
So
I? Yeah, I'm just interested. The most it would be,
It's,
who's number 2. I just
Yeah.
don't know. I just think it's a toss-up now between Girard
That'll
and
be the
Victoria
big question.
Sullivan. And I actually think Tommy Kay might come in first because whoever comes in first, there's also a special election in
Right.
8, becomes alderman and does the
until
last.
January. Yeah.
And he's the the only one who has any experience.
I wonder if folks will split
Really?
their votes, like just vote for one for the special election and another for the other. I mean, I
No,
don't
it's-
assume they would.
It's one ballot.
No, that's one
No,
ballot,
no.
but there's two different
different.
things. They could vote for different people.
you have a
for the
special
different races.
election, and then you have
Yeah, the special election.
then you have the regular ballot.
Yeah, the special
Oh, I
election is immediate, and then the primaries for November,
Oh, I didn't see the second ballot.
Yeah.
I was online to download.
and then the November is for everything after January.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. And if you can make it, I know Wednesday's your day off, right?
I never have a day off.
Okay. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week at Ward 13.